All right, welcome everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 20th of May, 2026, and this is the Cluster API office hours. Cluster API is a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidelines, which essentially can be summarized as please be excellent to each other, and if you have a question, please raise your hand and I will call on you. At the beginning of our meetings, we like to take a little time to welcome new attendees or new community members to say hi. So I will be quiet for a few seconds. And if you would like to introduce yourself to the community, please feel free to unmute and say hi. All right, seems like perhaps we have no new community members here today. So we will move on to our open proposal readouts. Does anybody have comments to add on either the independent worker topology versions or the external CA insert sign?
Nothing to add.
Okay, thanks. All right then, we'll go into our discussion topics, which I have just added one because I was curious and I realized the topics were empty, and I was hoping that maybe Fabrizio or Stefan would be here and I could pick their brain a little bit. So I'm curious to ask a few questions about the Bootstrap provider. I've been trying, I've been following, I've been doing a lot of work around like writing a little POC with some ignition stuff in mind. And I've been looking at this one spot um, in the kubeadm controller, kind of like where we start to prepare the data to go into the secret. And I was just curious, I'm kind of studying where the input comes from, and I'm curious, like, is there output that comes from kubeadm that gets piped into like a text file that goes into this, or like how, like, I guess like Fabrizio or Stefan, do either of you have recommendations for like the best way to kind of introspect this data or to kind of like understand more about the flow that's working here? I guess like hopefully I can't see the full participants list. I don't know, like or Fabrizio. I thought I saw Fabrizio in here.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, everyone. So I think that the high level idea here is that we build a data structure and then we pass to the two renderer, which are either kubadmin or ignition. And so you have to look back at how the data structure, the control plane input above is built, basically.
Right, I guess.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
could you clarify me what do you mean with figure it out where this data comes from?
Well, like so what I've been doing is like inspecting the way that the way that the secret is created in the running clusters I have, and I'm kind of working backward from that because what I want to do is like I want to like remove this case and just allow the data to always go through as if it was, the standard bootstrap. But then I need to look at the data to understand better how I could disassemble it on the provider side and do something different with it, right? Like if I wanted to have some other piece of code that looked at the secret and like kind of, deconstructed the data in the secret and then rebuilt it in another way, that's what I'm trying to get at understanding. And I've looked at the templates for how this stuff is created. So I can see like the cloud init one, I think you and I talked about this before. I can totally see how
Mm.
the template is just laying out the data and then like it's used later on. I guess what I'm trying to understand more is like how is the control plane, generated? And, should I be looking at kubeadm? Like, is there output from kubeadm that gets turned into commands that goes into this, or is that kind of separate from this process?
So at this stage, there is not really kubeadmin. So the input of everything are the kubeadmin config CRD or the kubeadmin config template that is in the class in KCP. Okay. So basically it is let me grab a link. I'm going to our new API documentation and I will look at Bootstrap code config. So I'm pasting a link in the Zoom chat.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, so this, if you scroll up just a second, so okay, kubeadmin config, middle of the page. Okay, so this is basically our kubeadmin config object. And what is important is the kubeadmin config spec. Okay, this kubeadmin config spec is also embedded in KCP. Okay, and if you look at this object, it has cluster configuration, init configuration, join configuration, which are, let me say, they mirror what is defined in the corresponding kubeadmin API. Mostly, or they are heavily inspired by the kubeadmin API, basically. Init, join, and cluster configuration are they derive from these. There are some difference because over time we try to clean it up, and also the sorry, also cluster configuration if you want, uh, not only init and join, and init, join, and cluster configuration. And because, for instance, there are option in kubeadmin that we are not yet exposing for some reason, or that does not make sense to expose in copy because we are not using them. I don't remember some of top of mind, but yeah. But we try basically to help the user to not misconfigure the thing. Then if we go back to the structure, we have a set of other features which are files, disk setup, mount, boot command. Those okay. Let's stop from. I think skip for a second command, kubeadmin command, and and post kubeadmin command. But we have file, disk setup, mount, and going down we have users. NTP. I think that's okay. So basically, those are operative system configurations, and they are modeled more or less starting from the Ignition, using Ignition as a, sorry, using Cloud Init API as a starting point, but it is just a starting point because Cloud Init is written in Python. There's different Python, you can do list and single item in a single place. So we have to make some changes. And then there are also some other stuff, like, for instance, I don't know, files. We want to make it possible to reference a secret, which is something that in original Ignition was not there, but now we have in our API. And yeah, so basically it originates from Cloud Init, but it was sort of adapted to a different context, with Kubernetes context. And those are operative system settings. How they behaves? They behaves. Most of them are just pass through, or in the sense that Kubernetes, KPK or KCP just forward the configuration to Cloud Init or Ignition. They do not make any processing. Some of them have some processing, like files, for instance, or users, where we go, we resolve secrets. So if the file is pointing to a uh, to a secret, we go, we read the secret, we embed it, and stuff like that. So, and we have a PR out that is also making possible to use template in building files. So there is a sort of processing between what you have in the API and what you will get passed to the provider. And then there are basically a set of commands, and there are three groups, and there are boot commands, which are commands that are executing at the very beginning of the machine bootstrap sequence. And then there are pre-kubernetes and post-kubernetes command, which are executed at the end of the bootstrap sequence. And what is interesting is that there is no the Kubernetes init on join, because Kubernetes init on join is built by the code. And with this caveat that I just explained, basically you can think that what will be passed to the code that we were showing is the input of this CRD with a minimal resolution for files, users, and some sane defaulting for init and join configuration. We know we are joining a control plane, so we configure join kubeadmin. We configure join kubeadmin in order to join control plane without asking the user to do the configuration for us. Or we set the cluster control plane endpoint without asking the user to do this for us. So there is a little bit of defaulting to make the usability simpler. So, but mostly it is this API, a little bit of defaulting, file resolution, reference resolution, secret importing, etc., but not much more. And then we pass everything except to the code, which is also which translate these to the Cloud Init syntax or the Ignition syntax and add the kubeadmin init or join command in the between pre and post kubeadmin commands.
So I guess, is it the expectation then that like when you're using the kubeadm bootstrapper, that between the pre-ADM kubeadm commands and the post-kubeadm commands, like kubeadm will be run on the node between them, like you would run
Yes.
kubeadm join on the node or whatever? Or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the expectation.
Okay.
Uh, but at the end, it is up to the renderer. If you look at the Cloud Init syntax, but if I remember well, also Ignition is the same.
Yeah.
They don't have a distinction between pre-kubeadmin command and post-kubeadmin command.
Okay.
It is basically they only have a thing that is called the run CMD, and it is the code that you are looking at that probably in commands.go, if I remember well. It just create a set of command. You don't see it, but is probably the caller of this function of this template that concat the pre-kubeadmin command, kubeadmin init or join, and the post. So you have to go up probably one level where we define the command.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at these things earlier.
Uh, yeah, it's not code super elegant because it is just a bunch of templating
Right. Yeah.
But at the end, it's not super complicated. If you have question, you can reach out to me offline, and I can point you to the point. So
Okay.
to
This,
the exit point.
yeah, I mean, this has been really helpful for me. So I probably will take you up on reaching out to you on Slack or something. So
Yeah, feel free.
be prepared, I guess.
Yeah, don't worry.
Okay, yeah, this is helpful. And just for context, I'm sure Fabrizio already knows, but for everyone else, like, I'm doing some research around the Node bootstrapping working group, and I'm trying to work towards a proof of concept to bring back here and demonstrate. But I'm getting into the weeds with looking at these secrets and trying to figure out different ways that I can kind of like, transpile them or whatever. So yeah, this is helpful though. Thank you, Fabrizio. Okay. Anybody else have questions or comments on that topic? All right. Does anybody have ad hoc topics they would like to add to our agenda for today? Otherwise, we'll take back about 40 minutes of our day here. So going once, going twice. Okay. We'll call it a meeting. Thanks for coming out, everybody. And we will see you all next week, presumably.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you for
bye.
hosting. Bye
Later.
bye.
Yep.